Hey everyone, we're back today, and today it is just me and Jack since our other co-host Michael is out golfing right now. Uh, Hopefully he does well. He usually shoots at the 70s, so I'm for sure he'll do well. But he'll be back soon, probably next week. Hopefully we can figure out a day where we're all three of us are together and we can recap the game on Sunday and possibly talk about more of the game or the upcoming game against the Bills next week and practice. So we'll figure that out amongst ourselves. But let's recap this week. So practice has gotten really physical for the Bears in this past week, and I mean I'm sure me and Jack can agree on this. It's a breath of fresh air for that because we have not had a physical kind of group for a long time, and it just feels so good to have that uh, urge to make sure we're doing it safely, but also like violently at the same time. So, um, Jack, I'll ask you what are your thoughts on how practice has gotten really physical with like with some skirmishes between the offense and defense these past couple days.
Yeah, so in addition to players saying it, I also saw a lot of people on Twitter, beat reporters who are in person for practice, kind of echoing the same sentiment. And I think it's great. We haven't been a very good tackling team the last couple years, despite having a pretty effective defense that's mainly been predicated on takeaways, not really being great tackling. And on the offensive side of the ball, I think it's great too. The Bears had that identity before when Justin Fields was the quarterback. There was a lot to do with the run game, and that was kind of how they moved the ball. But I think having a physical offensive line this year and then letting Rome Odunze make plays at the point of attack, DJ Moore racking up yards after the catch like he usually does, I think that physicality is going to go a long way on both sides of the ball. And to your point, I think it's good they're doing it early because you don't want to struggle the first couple of weeks of the season and dig yourself a hole with how good this division seems like it'll be once again this year.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can completely agree, and I'm really happy that we actually for once have a in a long time have a physical defense too, because we haven't had that much of I mean I would say the last type of physical defense we had was probably with Lovey Smith, which was 20 years ago almost.
No, it hasn't been that long. And I would argue 2018, the first year of Matt Nagy.
Okay, sure, yeah,
But
but
yeah, no, to your point though, I mean, that hasn't been the Bears have had a bad offense, but it also hasn't been like their defense has been saving them like it could have in the past. Both sides of
mhm.
the ball need to be more physical, and I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I can't wait to see what happens with this in the future. We'll recap joint practice in a little bit, but so I mean, this is our next topic isn't necessarily Bears related, but it does help us. So Jordan Addison is suspended for the first 3 weeks of the NFL season because he violated uh, performance enhancing drugs this past season or last year, and he wasn't.
I thought it was a driving incident. I don't know if it was steroids.
Well, something made him get suspended for the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. He still can practice right now, and he still can take part in preseason games. But when September 4th comes around, he's suspended for the first 3 weeks. Now, I mean it only pertains to us for 1 week because we play the Vikings week 1. But you know, you guys are probably wondering why is this an important topic to talk about for the Bears? Well, um, in week 17 last year, uh, Jordan Addison caught 8 passes for 162 yards and 1 touchdown. against the Bears. Now there are factors. We didn't have an aggressive defense, and the Vikings had I would say a more competent quarterback than JJ McCarthy right now, because we don't know how good JJ McCarthy is going to be, because he hasn't had any meaningful reps in practice or in games. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, if we can take out the possibility of a receiver getting, you know, 6 to 7 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, our chances of winning increase a good amount. So what are your thoughts on that, Jack? And then we'll go on to the next topic.
Yeah, obviously, I think this definitely increases the Bears' chances of winning. The Bears did a good job last year, Jalen Johnson in particular, in shutting down Justin Jefferson, which is not something that ordinarily happens for him. But I think because of all that attention that got put towards Jefferson, Addison is someone who has enough talent to put up the type of stat line like you were saying. There have been reports out of Vikings camp that they've struggled to move the ball a little bit with JJ McCarthy and the first team offense.
Yeah.
So I think taking away one of his top 3 weapons will only make it harder for the Vikings. And to be able to win a game in division, we saw how hard that was last year. If we're able to pick one up early without them having their full strength offense, I think that'd be great for the Bears and getting going early.
I can agree with you. And I mean, I really think that this is going to be great, and I mean, it's not great for JJ McCarthy, because he's going to need all the weapons that he can get to help him, you know, show that he can be the future. But I mean, to be honest with you, 3 weeks is not that long. I thought there was a possibility of him getting suspended longer if he, because I mean, Henry Ruggs went to prison because of his speeding ticket.
Yeah, I think in Addison's case, I'll look it up so we're not saying anything incorrect, but I believe it was a DUI. Let me look.
But while Jack looks that up, I'll talk a little bit about another thing that I was supposed to mention in the past topic, but I forgot to mention. So we, during Thursday's practice, Darnell Wright and Kyler Gordon did go down with injuries. Now, Darnell Wright was back at practice today. He just had a thing with his collarbone. It's not anything serious. He returned to practice. Uh, Kyler Gordon is still being evaluated for his injury, but he was back at practice. He just didn't practice. So, in my personal opinion, I am glad that Darnell is back at practice right now, and I mean, it's still trying to be figured out with what Kyler Gordon's issue is, but I would just, uh, make sure that he nurses that injury so he's back fully healthy by week 1, because we need, all the guys on defense that we can get. And right now we're already missing Jalen Johnson. So, I mean, and actually we're not doing that bad without him, if I'm being completely honest. And I think that's a credit to Dennis Allen. So,
yeah, I think Kyler, like you mentioned, like level of concern right now is probably pretty low for Kyler Gordon, but important thing to make sure he doesn't rush back, because that's somebody you want on the field week 1.
Absolutely. And did you get to see what?
Yes, it was a DUI in 2024, so it happened before last season, but pretty similar to Rashee Rice's case. It just took a year for the actual U.S. justice system legal process to happen, as well as the NFL to determine a sentencing. So something from last year, but yeah.
So this next topic, I am just going to come out and say it. I do not see this happening. I would imagine Jack is the same way, but after I mention it, I'll let him bring his 2 cents to it. So Micah Parsons it, did request a trade out of Dallas. Now, I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't think it happens because of a couple reasons. First off, you'd have to give up probably around the same that you gave up for Khalil Mack when we traded for him in 2018. And then you'd have to also pay him probably a contract of like 50 million plus for 3 to 4 years. But also, there's a thing that I want to talk about with Jerry Jones about it. You know, he can't he publicly came out and said that he thinks that he can have just a verbal agreement of a contract with Micah Parsons, where like how he shook to buy the Cowboys. I've got news for you, Jerry Jones. It's not 30 years ago. You need to go through the age, and you need to. I mean, you need to be that's who you need to talk to. You can't just deliver. You can't go to the person himself. And I mean, I have no idea how Jerry Jones is still owner slash GM. I understand like when he came uh got into the owner of the Cowboys when he in the in the early 90s, but I mean that it's not like that anymore. I mean, it it doesn't make sense to me how he is still the owner slash GM, and I mean, but he's not going to give up that title till he is in the ground. So, um,
Yeah.
we'll see about that. But what are your thoughts on this, Jack?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see the Cowboys actually ending up moving him. I think this is all just negotiating tactics between Parsons and the Cowboys. I do agree with you though. Like, there's a reason that Parsons and all these other guys, other than the ones who represent themselves, pay agents. And these agents, that's how they make their living too, off of commission from these deals. So obviously, an agent's not going to want a guy to take a hometown discount, especially when they're of the caliber of Micah Parsons. But this is just typical of the Cowboys in recent years. We've seen the laborious negotiations with CD. We've seen it with Dak. It's happened a lot in recent history. So I'm not surprised. I think the Bears, I honestly think this would be someone that you do open the bank for, like you do make a Khalil Mack type offer for, just because of age. I know the injury history is not great, but that's just going to happen. Football's a violent sport. But I mean, Micah Parsons is one of the top 3 to 5 defenders in the National Football League right now. So I think the Cowboys would be stupid not to get a deal done, especially when you look at like their on-off numbers with Parsons on the field compared to when he's been hurt. They're
Mm-hmm.
just a totally different defense. So he's a game-changing player. Jerry Jones is doing his classic quack stuff, and I think it'll end up with him staying in Dallas on a long-term deal. But obviously, this has been the Bears' pipe dream. I think at least Bears fans' pipe dream for the last 2 years or so is Micah wanting out and then coming to the Bears. So
Yeah,
worthy of talking about. But until we hear anything more, I just think he'll end up in Dallas still.
yeah. And let me say this: if the Mike if it does happen where he is traded and does come to the Bears, I will say I'm gonna give it right now a 1% chance of happening. And if that 1% does actually happen, I will welcome him with open arms. I'm not saying that I won't welcome him. I am just saying that the actual likelihood of this actually coming into fruition is very, very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personally, when we traded for Khalil Mack, I didn't even think that that was a possibility. So,
Yeah,
um,
you
but
never.
also back then we had a GM that didn't really care about draft picks and gave as much money as he humanly could to players to come to a franchise that was literally in the gutter. So,
Yeah.
um, our next topic for Bears fans is going to be a little sad. Some starters are not playing on Sunday, including Caleb Williams. I mean, I I thought that was going to be a mistake, but then I realized that if a starter does play in a preseason game that's like the number one person on the depth chart, they probably get 10 to 15 plays before they're taken out and sitting the rest of the game on the sideline. And the Bears have joint practices with, or had joint practices with the Dolphins, and they have another joint practice with the Bills next week. And I read online that in joint practices, the number one offense, or the number one people for the offense and defense, get about 25 to 30 plays of actual reps in those practices. So you're actually getting more reps in the practice than you would be getting in the preseason game. And this just, another thing for me it just makes sure that the number one offense doesn't get hurt, because and that's a huge thing in in a new system, and in a new with a new head coach and all that stuff. So I am completely fine with this after reading about, the reps that they get in joint practices. So what are your thoughts, Jack?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that it's better, at least in this point in the off season and training camp, to be getting those reps in a controlled setting, which I think joint practices are great for, and just team practices, like not joint practices. It seems like, based on what we were talking earlier, like guys have been hitting hard, guys have been going full intensity. So I don't think this is an issue at all, and it'll change over the next couple preseason games. Like the starters aren't just going to sit every game.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
So this is
yeah,
obviously
right.
just for this first game, but I was going to say I was a little surprised seeing the Bengals guys in their first preseason game, their first team offense out there for so long. And then I kind of thought about it. And I'm like, well, the Bengals have been really, really bad to start the season the last 3 years. So I think year one with Ben Johnson, I think this is fine. See what works. I trust that they're getting the reps in. They need to learn the system. And I think just preventing injury is obviously the number one goal at this time of year for any team.
That is, and Ben Johnson did have a press conference this morning where reporters asked, will they eventually uh get playing time, the starters, and he did say he assumes that they eventually will.
Mm.
So it might not be this week or next week, but week 3, when they play the Chiefs, they don't have a joint practice. So there's a possibility that we get to see them against the Chiefs. I mean, I don't necessarily want to wait 3 weeks to see Caleb throw a ball, in Ben Johnson's offense, but
But I'd also rather see him throw the ball for 17 weeks healthy. So
that's true. If it
it's a give and take.
it's a give and take, and I will always take the healthy part of a full season, rather than give me, 2 drives of a game that doesn't matter. So,
Mhm.
you know, when it happens, it happens, and whatever, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
We'll see stuff. We'll get a taste of what the Bears will look like. So now we're gonna get into the joint practice recap. I probably could have put this up where we were talking about physical practice, but I wanted the joint practice to have like its own part of it. So I thought that having this a little spaced out would be a good idea. Um, so uh, the the joint practice really actually went really well for the defense. Our defense picked off Tua 3 times uh, in during practice, and I mean, now in all fairness, Tyreek Hill was not out there, but I mean, they still had Jalen Waddle and everyone else that they have on that offense, and I still think that the Dolphins offense is scary. It's just what scares me is Tua Tagovailoa is literally one hit away from retirement, and it's just I don't know why he's still playing because he secured his contract and he's set for life and probably past his life actually because I wouldn't know how to spend $265 million. But and then on the offensive side of the ball, they're still getting used to the offense. There was still some false starts and all that stuff, but there were also some good guys like uh, that showed out in practice. For example, one was uh, Olamide Zacchaeus. He had a 70-yard touchdown thrown to him, and I mean that for me, that was one signing that was like a little surprising when it happened, but like reading more and more about him after, throughout this training camp, like it's become more of a like, wow, this was like a underrated signing for the Bears to be probably at least at the start of the season, uh the wide receiver 3 in the offense because Luther Burden is kind of slowly getting into the offense after missing most of OTAs and mini camps. But also, Colston Loveland had a 50-yard touchdown pass. And I mean, that kid's going to be a beast. I mean, I've seen everything about him, and he's just. I think he's going to be better than Tyler Warren. I honestly do believe that. So, what are your thoughts on the joint practice, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great sign. The defense did that well. The Dolphins have struggled with inconsistencies as a team, but that's really just been because Tua's been out. And when Tua's been healthy, they've been a formidable offense. So good to have success against them early on in a practice setting. Uh, Going back to Zacchaeus, I think Tyler Scott had a couple years to become that third or fourth wide receiver speed threat and never has really materialized. So I
Sure.
think bringing him in as a veteran presence was a great idea. It gives Luther Burden a little bit more time, like you mentioned, coming off of his injury to get integrated with the offense. And I think he could be a real difference maker. I don't think he's going to be catching 5 to 6 passes a game, but if it's 2 to 4 passes a game and one of them is a big play, like that's exactly what you brought him in for. So I think it's all positive stuff to come out of this camp report. I mean, obviously everything is going to be kind of framed in a positive light when it's Bears Beats reporters, but at the same time, it seems like things are going in the right direction. So I think just being able to build off of this going into the next joint practice they have next week with the Bills, I think will be a great thing.
That one's gonna be really fun to recap for sure because the Bills have just always been like that team, and there's a possibility that we actually may be featured on Hard Knocks again because the Bills are the off-season version of uh, Hard Knocks this year. So and we have a joint practice with them. Am I saying that it's going to be a great episode? I don't know if it even happens. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but hey, I'd love to watch one episode where we get to see the Bills and the Bears practice, and maybe a little bit from the game, just
Mm-hmm.
like how we had the Hall of Fame game last year, but so but I think that's going to be a fun practice to recap. Just like every practice, pretty much. But that one's going to be really fun. So the next topic, you know, I w- I want to talk about three things that I want to see, and then Jack, if you could think of three things that you might want to see in the preseason game. I'm probably not going to watch the whole thing, but I might watch the first half just to see how the team is. But the three things that I'm looking for are, um, uh, you know, uh, I mean, they're all offensive stuff, because I'm a lot more confident in defense now that I am in the offense because we're still learning it. I mean, I want to see the offense limit pre-snap penalties. I want to see clean pocket for Bajan and the QBs to have time to throw. And I hope this isn't too much to ask, but I want to see an opening drive touchdown. We haven't seen that in a year, so I want to see that. What would you like to see, Jack, if you're going to watch some of the first preseason game for the Bears?
Yeah, so even though it's not Caleb in there, I really want to see a couple downfield shots in this game. That was something I felt was pretty sorely lacking from the Bears offense last year, success rate wise. So if we can get some early looks at that, uh, I also agree that pre-snap penalties are something the Bears really need to work on. That killed a lot of drives last year, so I'm going to steal that one from you as well. Uh, and then on defense, pressure the quarterback. I don't need to see
Right.
8 sacks, but with Dennis Allen's new system, he's a lot better at scheming up, getting to the quarterback, which was something that, although Matt Eberflus was good at calling a defense, that was not really his calling card. He was more of a sit back and try and get turnovers by dropping dudes in coverage. So I'd love to see a little bit more of the Bears getting after the quarterback on Sunday.
I would probably say that I'd like to see 3 to 4 sacks on Sunday would be my goal. And then so this one is interesting. Our last topic's interesting because we have been the Bears have been talking about breaking ground for Arlington Heights Stadium for so long that when we see them talk about it, because they had Kevin Warren at a press conference like 2 hours ago talking about it, and I just don't know if I believe him. Like he said they want to break ground in December, but they need to get a bill passed by October in order for that to happen. And first of all, can you explain to me why you want to break ground on a NFL stadium during the coldest part of the year for Illinois? Why not wait till summer? I mean, I want the stadium to get done, yes, but we still, even if the stadium is built and all that stuff, we can't actually play in it until our lease is over with Soldier Field, which is another like 5 or 6 years from now anyway. So, I mean, I want to get the stadium built, but why are you rushing? Is my question.
Yeah, I'm just like so desensitized to anytime anyone within the Bears talks about the stadium situation. I'll believe it when I see it. Like I'll believe it when they break ground or they don't break ground. Like it's impossible, like you said, to tell whether like what's being said is even like true or not. You'd like to believe what they're saying, but we've been doing this run around for years and years now. So like I said, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm an Arlington Heights guy. I'd love to see them build a stadium there. I think it'd be a great facility, a lot easier to get to for people with cars, and there'd still be like a train line to get there for people coming from the city. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I just don't even make anything of it, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it's wait and see. It's wait and see. It feels like a lot of the Bears stuff that we talk about, or at least has been in the past. Is more wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna be. I do I do think the stadium is gonna be awesome when it actually gets built. But I am also um you know uh thinking like thinking logically and thinking that, like, for example, I my family wants to relocate when my parents retire, and I'm just like trying to wrap my head around the fact that there's a possibility that by the time we actually move is when the stadium is actually fully built, which is
Mm-hmm.
you know a long time from now.
Yeah.
So
It's
you know
it's not around the corner. We got a while to wait for that.
nope, nothing is around the corner. And when the Bears say they're doing something, you don't know what to believe. So I think that's going to be our podcast for today. I hope that the Bears do win on Sunday. Me and my dad will be watching some of it. I have to break the news to him that Caleb will not be playing. So it might be a little less entertaining to watch, but we still need to see how Ben Johnson's offense is against a different defense. So I'm going to watch some of it regardless. And I got to start scouting for fantasy football drafts anyway. So I gotta realize what players are going to be good. So, but I think that's going to be today, and we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, back with Michael. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you next week.
See everybody.